ever think about it? Like how something you just, naturally avoid something that means like an instant sting and ouch could actually be, well, kind of a secret weapon for healing.
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And it's at the heart of what we're looking at today. This deep dive is all about something that, on the surface, seems kind of wild. Using bee stings as a possible treatment for MS.
Exactly. We're digging into an article from M&S, and it's called Bee Sting Healing Unsolved Mysteries. You think about how people with MS, it's a tough autoimmune thing, right? And they're always searching for something that really works. This article throws a curveball with these personal stories. It's really something else.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Our instinct is to steer clear of bee stings, right? To think they could be helpful, well, that kind of turns everything upside down.
Mm-hmm.
But as this article shows, some folks found real hope in this totally unexpected way.
So let's start with one of these stories, Kelly Ames. She got diagnosed with MS back in high school, and by the time she was 22, it had really taken hold. I mean, she couldn't feel her feet, she was falling, vision was going in one eye, and even basic muscle control was a struggle.
It's a powerful picture of how MS can really impact someone's life. The article really drives home how fast it progressed for Kelly, going from just numbness to really serious physical limitations.
And at first, she went the traditional route, steroids. Steroids can help for a bit, but it's temporary. Understandably, Kelly was worried about what the future held. She talks about being in the waiting room for her treatments, seeing other patients in wheelchairs, and just wondering if that was where she was headed. It's a pretty powerful image.
Absolutely. It really captures that feeling a lot of people with chronic conditions have, knowing that things could get worse, even with the treatments they're getting. That uncertainty can really push people to look for other options.
And that's exactly what happened with Kelly. There was this turning point. She met someone who said they'd recovered from being in a wheelchair, and get this, through Bee Venom Therapy. For Kelly, it was like a ray of hope in a really dark place.
That meeting with the other person, that's key. It suggests that Kelly wasn't just taking a shot in the dark. She saw someone who actually got better using this unusual method. That personal connection must have been incredibly encouraging.
So she decided to go for it. The article says she started stinging herself every other day, and she kept it up for 6 months straight. I mean, that takes serious dedication.
It does. You can tell how much MS was affecting her life. It pushed her to try something that, let's be honest, sounds pretty intense.
And it was a whole process. She and her boyfriend, they had this routine where he'd put live bees on specific spots. For her legs, it was her lower back, and for her vision, behind her ear. And these bees would stay there stinging her, sometimes for 15 minutes. They wanted to make sure she got all the venom.
It's interesting, that targeted approach, like they knew which areas to focus on, maybe the beekeeper they worked with guided them. And keeping those bees on her for so long, it makes you think they really believed in maximizing the venom's effect, right?
Here's the crazy part. Kelly's nerves were so messed up from the MS that at first she couldn't even feel the stings. I mean, she went through hundreds of them before she felt any pain at all. But then the feeling started coming back, and get this, she was actually happy about the pain. She described, screaming, but also feeling happy because she could feel something again.
That detail is just, wow. It really puts things in perspective. Feeling something most of us don't even think twice about it was a sign of healing for her, a sign that the damage from MS might be reversing.
And the results. Within a week, her eyesight started improving, and she didn't need her cane as much. I mean, it's a huge turnaround.
The article says it happened that fast. It's really something. Of course, these are her own observations, but those quick changes, they had to be incredibly encouraging. If that kind of rapid improvement happened consistently, researchers might find clues about how MS works, or maybe even new ways to treat it.
And Kelly's story doesn't stop there. She wanted to help others, so she started teaching bee venom therapy to other folks with MS. One of them was Maureen Naughton.
It's amazing how these individual stories can spread. Kelly sharing what she learned, it shows how much she wanted to help others dealing with the same thing. And that just sparks even more interest in this whole approach,
So Maureen's experience, it's another piece of the puzzle. Her MS symptoms started after she had her second child. Numbness in her feet, that was the first sign. When she decided to try bee venom therapy, she was, well, understandably cautious. She kept it pretty quiet, partly because she wasn't sure how people would react, including her doctors.
It just goes to show how controversial this whole bee venom thing is. I mean, some doctors think it's total nonsense, and people in her life might not have been supportive. That kind of social pressure can be a real obstacle for people who are exploring alternative treatments.
Yeah, and her first experience with the stings was pretty intense, too. She said within minutes she felt warmth and tingling in her foot. For someone who'd lost feeling because of MS, that must have been a real moment of hope.
That immediate response is really interesting. Whether it was a direct effect of the venom or maybe a placebo effect fueled by her hope, that quick change in sensation clearly had a big impact on her belief in the therapy.
And get this, just 6 weeks later, Maureen completed a 7-mile MS walkathon. The article even has a picture of her crossing the finish line with her son.
That image really brings it home. 7 miles after having serious numbness. That speaks volumes about how much the therapy seemed to help her mobility and overall well-being.
Now, to be fair, the article does acknowledge that Bee Venom Therapy is controversial. Some doctors call it voodoo.
Of course, it's important to show both sides of the coin. The medical establishment, they rely on hard scientific evidence, controlled studies and all that. And personal stories, while they're powerful, they don't always fit that mold. Calling it voodoo, it shows that skepticism, the lack of real scientific understanding about how bee venom could actually work for something like MS.
But the article also points out that Kelly's recovery, it's not the only one. And some mainstream scientists think it's something worth looking into. That suggests people are starting to get curious, even if they were dismissive at first.
It hints at a possible change in thinking. It's still fringe, sure, but those consistent positive reports, they might be catching the eye of some researchers who know that the current MS treatments don't work for everyone.
Right, and the article touches on the bigger picture too, using bee products for medicine. It mentions bee venom therapy, and there's a comment that brings up apitherapy, which seems like a broader term.
Yes, apitherapy, it covers the use of anything made by honeybees for medicinal purposes. Honey, propolis, royal jelly, bee pollen, and of course, the venom we're talking about. It's been around for ages in different cultures.
And let's talk about those comments. There's one from Liz, who's all for apitherapy as a potential help for autoimmune diseases. Sounds like she agrees with Kelly and Maureen's experiences.
Liz's comment adds to that collection of personal stories, doesn't it? It shows how strongly some people believe in the power of bee-based therapies for autoimmune conditions. Maybe she's seen it firsthand or knows someone who has.
Then there's Eric W. Bohannon, who his spelling isn't the best, but he suggests bee stings help strengthens the immune system. It's short, but it brings up that idea of bee venom affecting the immune system, which is, well, really important when you're talking about autoimmune diseases like MS.
His spelling might be a bit off, but the core idea that bee venom could somehow change how the immune system works, that's a big area of potential research. Autoimmune diseases, they happen when the immune system attacks the body by mistake. So something that could rebalance things, that would be huge.
And there's this really emotional comment from Brandy. She's clearly upset, mentioning she saw the segment on bee venom and is desperate for help. The response she got, it just directs her to some websites. It's a reminder that behind all this, there are real people struggling, hoping for solutions.
It's a reminder that these aren't just abstract concepts. These are real people dealing with real challenges, and they're clinging to hope. Brandy's comment underscores how desperate people can get and how important it is to have good information and support for people with chronic illnesses.
So we've looked at these personal stories and the bigger picture from the article. What are the main takeaways for our listeners? What should they be thinking about after this deep dive?
Well, first off, you can't deny the power of individual experiences. Kelly and Maureen's stories, while they're not scientific studies, they offer a powerful glimpse into what happened when they tried bee venom therapy, especially when conventional treatments weren't doing much for them.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if these unconventional therapies deserve a closer look from scientists. The article suggests that even the scientific community is starting to think maybe bee venom therapy is just too promising to be ignored.
Exactly. To really know what's going on, we need solid research. We need to understand how bee venom works, what the benefits might be, and any risks involved. That way, we can see if it's a real option for people with MS, and if so, how to use it safely and effectively.
And I think Kelly and Maureen's dedication, it shows how important hope and taking control are when you're dealing with a chronic illness. They didn't just sit back and accept their diagnosis. They went out and found a therapy that gave them hope, and that's pretty inspiring.
It's about taking charge of your own health, isn't it? They didn't just passively accept things. They went looking for something that felt right to them, something that offered them hope. That proactive approach is really powerful when you're navigating a chronic disease.
So we come back to that question we started with. Could something that seems as bad as a bee sting actually have the power to heal?
After going deep into this article and seeing these incredible personal stories, well, it definitely makes you rethink things. It suggests that for some people with MS, Bee Venom Therapy might have played a big part in their recovery.
And it makes you wonder, right? What other unconventional approaches are out there, maybe holding hidden benefits for our health and well-being? Things we haven't even considered yet.
That's the beauty of exploration, isn't it? It pushes us to think beyond what we know, to see the potential in the unexpected. Maybe the answers to some of our toughest health challenges are hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to discover them.